part for the list.
That does not fit.
And let's finish up with 11 long-term booking directions for the WWE in 2015-2016 with Roman Reigns as the franchise star.
How appropriate this week that number one, after 11 weeks, that number one landed right here where we just talked about what's going to happen in the Survivor Series tournament. Roman Reigns as the franchise star, the franchise player, if you will, despite everything that has happened with Roman Reigns and the failure to make him at WrestleMania 31, WWE's biggest long-term plan is to still have him as the franchise star. Vince McMahon, Stephanie, and Triple H are all firmly behind him as the next John Cena.
He should be the first Roman Reigns.
Amen. If the audience continues to boo him, it will simply become part of the narrative. There's a determination to stick the course no matter what. So it wouldn't really be that surprising to see him win the Royal Rumble next year again. Then at WrestleMania 32, it looks like very likely he'll be the WWE champion. It's probable Hunter and Rock will be closing the show, which makes it a lot easier for WWE to book Reigns in whatever way they like. Not being the show closer carries less pressure. The title match in the upper mid-card allows WWE to worry less about fan revolt. The big picture could well be the Shield reforming and then being put against each other in Dallas, with Roman finally winning the big one. We do know all of this already, that the Shield will not reform and they will not be going against each other in Dallas because Seth Rollins is hurt. This was all typed up before this happened to Seth Rollins. So we know that more than likely Roman will be the champion at Survivor Series going into the Royal Rumble, so he won't have to win the Royal Rumble. So this is all very different, but it all is the same. It's different but the same. They're still looking at trying to give him the big push, and I do agree. You don't need to be the next John Cena. You need to be the first Roman Reigns. Just like when they first started with John Cena on SmackDown, they built him up. They brought him up as the rapper thing. He was the first John Cena. But then when they started, pushing him down everybody's throats as the hustle, loyalty, and respect, everybody's like, he's the next Hulk Hogan. Yes. But now everybody doesn't say.
Take your vitamins. Yes.
But everybody doesn't say he's the next Hulk Hogan. They say he's the first John Cena, and that Roman Reigns is the next John Cena. You don't need.
And he don't like it. Well, don't be like it then.
Right. You don't need to be it that way. I mean, I understand you do different moves, you do different things, but you do have the 5 moves to do everything going on.
You do. Instead of this, it's believe that. It's that, yes.
So it's time to change the way we build up our number one face. Okay. I mean,
first of all, the fans have got to like him and don't feel like he's being crammed around.
That's why they love Daniel Bryan. He was an underdog. He didn't win everything.
Every time he tried to do anything,
he got beat down.
The authority would beat his ass down.
Exactly.
And you fight back up and get back down. And you fight back up and you're back down. And then finally you fight against everything, and you finally get the pride. And you really get hurt. And you're back down again, and people feel sorry. Like he's hurt. He was there.
Something we forgot about. Something we forgot about on point 3.
What Daniel Bryan's done?
Ha ha ha! But you don't think about this. Remember on Total Divas they were talking about how he's got to go to a third doctor, and outside he had his own doctor. Said yes. The WWE doctor said no. So he's got to have one more other doctor that's respected, that people love, and blah blah blah. If they say no, listen. If he says no, then he has to retire. But if he says yes, he can come back. How do we know he hasn't already said yes and they're just waiting to pull the trigger? Could this be the trigger they're looking for? Daniel Bryan could come back and win the whole tournament.
Do they really want to go that route?
Yes, they do.
Do you want to take another chance on of him getting hurt and have to forfeit the title after you just had to forfeit the title?
You want him to win a belt, and he's going to have to change his way of wrestling. Can't do the flying headbutts. Can't do the drop kick from the top rope where he lands on his neck and his head. You can't do that kind of stuff. He's going to have to change the way he wrestles. But there's ways around it.
Yeah, of course I like to see it.
There's ways around it.
Oh, there is ways. But do they want to take a chance?
There are ways around it. I don't know if they want to take a chance, but it would be huge. The pop would be insane. Everybody would love it, and that may be another way for WWE to bring the ratings back up.
It could be. This Raw, tomorrow night on Raw,
it will start.
Should be big. I mean,
changing of the guard, if you will.
So we'll see what happens.
We'll see what happens, but
because they haven't said. All they said tournament at Survivor Series. They didn't say tournament on Raw, which they should do Raw.
Or are they going to do like they did at WrestleMania, where the whole card is nothing but a dadgum tournament?
Survivor Series too.
Right, so now
but
we
you
got...
short matches. We don't want short matches.
Exactly. Now we got Top Rope Reality rebooking the USWA on a weekly show. They didn't have pay-per-views. They didn't have real big events, so we got a weekly show. And so basically we flipped a coin.
Yep.
Heads or tails. I got heads, so I picked first. And in this very first matchup, you had a singles match and I picked EC3. You got to bring the people into the building, and everybody wants to see E3C. E3C.
Yes.
EC3 sound like somebody from Star Wars.
It does,
EC3. Everybody wants to see him get his tail whooped, and he's taking on Mike Hogan's pick of Brad Armstrong. And so I picked the first person. So you get to pick the winner of the first match.
The first winner of the singles match between EC3 and Brad Armstrong is EC3. EC3.
And in the second match, and you picked the first person.
I picked the first one. It was a women's singles match, and it was Sherry Martel taking on your pick, Jazz.
So you picked the winner of the first one. I picked the winner of the second match. Ladies and gentlemen, the winner, Sherry Martel. You're on the wrong line.
Next up in the third match was a tag team match.
I picked
your pick.
my pick of the Hardy Boys.
Taking on my pick, the Heavenly Bodies.
Major tag team match.
As a major tag, not even for a tag team title.
No.
And in an upset, in some people's mind, it is an upset. The Heavenly Bodies pick up the win over the
Now, is this
Hardys.
the Heavenly Bodies of Dr. Tom and Jimmy Del Rey?
Yes, it is.
Very good. And in the next matchup, in this weekly special, they had another tag team match, back to back, ladies and gentlemen.
They love the tag team matches down in Memphis, Tennessee.
And in this matchup, you picked the Southern Boys, which is
Tracy
Smothers and Scott Armstrong.
Another Armstrong.
Taking on my pick of Bobby Eaton. Beautiful Bobby Eaton and the enforcer, R. Anderson. And my pick for the winners is Bobby Eaton and R. Anderson. And I don't know what just happened.
In the next singles match, in the fifth match on the card, is a pretty good match.
It is a very good match.
I believe we've seen this match for the Intercontinental title.
Very true.
It is RVD,
My pick.
your pick, taking on my pick, Y2J, Chris Jericho.
And who do you pick to win?
I
Pretty
pick
good.
to win a double count out. A double count out.
So we
folks.
continue on with their feud.
In the next match, a lot is on the line.
A lot is on the line with a hair versus hair tag team.
A hair versus hair. Two bald guys on one team. You can't be a tag team in Memphis if you're bald.
That's true.
You have to get out of town until your hair goes back.
So he picked the winner of the last one. I picked the winner of this one. So in a hair versus hair tag team matchup, we kind of came together. We said, you know what? This is going to be the two tag teams. It's got to be.
It's got to be.
It's got to be the two tag teams. Ladies and gentlemen, you think about a hair versus hair match, there's got to be a lot of locks. Lots of love.
To be on the line.
You got to have a lot of hair to be on the line, and we got a lot of hair involved in this. Yes. We've got the Rock and Roll Express, Ricky and Robert, taking on the fabulous ones, which is Bobby Fulton and Tommy Rogers. Is that them? No. Who are those? Who are they?
Fantastic.
Fantastic. Same thing. It starts with F. Stan Lane
And Steve Kern.
Steve Kern. Skinner. That's what threw me off right there. Same thing, really.
But all the lovely hairs on the line, you can't lose your hair.
You can't lose your hair.
You can't lose your hair. But
That's-
one
that's-
team
there's integrity involved
will
in
lose
that.
their hair.
And
Who's losing hair?
who's losing hair?
Who's the baldish?
The Baldies in this match are going to be the fabulous ones. So the winners are the Rock and Roll Express. You did it wrong.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
I said the fabulous ones are going to be bald.
Make you pay attention.
Uh-huh. And you put a star in there again. Good job.
That's delete. No star on there.
I think you deleted it. The star just popped up with the other line. You're in the wrong spot.
You better know.
Much better.
Live TV.
Live television on the YouTube.
And space. Up next is the WCCW Texas Championship.
My pick is the champion.
He picked the champion, folks.
Of Booker T.
5 time, 5 time, 5 time, 5 time.
That's true.
Taking on my pick, the Texas Tornado, Kerry Von Erich.
That's right.
And the winner.
By this much, the Texas champion will be
Booker T.
Booker T retains the WCCW Texas Championship. And in the next matchup, we have the CWA Tag Team Championships with his pick, the champions, Cactus Jack and Kevin Sullivan. 2 Looney Tunes.
Yeah.
They is too crazy, folks. Taking on the tag team you never thought you'd see.
Never. Ever.
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 They denied each other until there was no more denying. Ladies and gentlemen, it's going to be Jerry the King Lawler and the Grandmaster Sexy! Brian Christopher.
Father and son.
Father and son. And the winners of this very tag team match for the tag team title!
The CWA Tag Team Champions are
Lawler Christopher! Yeah, blood is there.
Always beats crazy.
Until Brian Christopher turns on him
Yeah,
and lose the belts.
Of course.
Of course!
It writes,
Got to.
It writes
It
itself,
does.
folks. It's not brain surgery.
Because I almost didn't let him win. I almost said Brian Christopher turns on his daddy during the match. He goes with the crazies.
That may be another time.
Because Brian
for the
Christopher
day.
is a little crazy himself.
He is.
Woo! He's
And
a
in the
lunatic.
main event,
The night.
Unified World title.
9 matches.
Your champion, his pick, Kurt Angle.
Kurt
Dun, dun, dun,
Angle!
dun, 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 dun. Versus my pick, the GOAT, greatest of all time, Daniel Bryan. And in a 45-minute match, 45 minutes.
45-minute time limit.
I don't think the people sat down.
No.
This was 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. I mean, the ref was tired. I mean, he was exhausted. Thank you for the word.
You're welcome. He was sweating buttocks.
But in a Ring of Honor type match,
Of course. A bar burner.
whoever the loser is, they didn't feel like, they both felt like winners.
So after this match was over, they both shook hands, raised each other's hands.
There wasn't a dry eye in the house.
You could feel the emotion.
And the winner, and new Unified World Heavyweight Champion, Daniel Bryan.
It's sure to be a great rematch. 'Cause you gotta have a
down the line,
rematch.
yes,
You
you gotta
gotta
win.
have a rematch. And we may rebook that later on.
We may. You never know.
You never know. We may come all the way back around. Do these all over again.
This
You
is
never
pretty
know.
fun.
It is fun.
So,
Changing history. So
one step at a time.
one step at a time. So since we just ended with the 11 long-term booking directions of the WWE in 2015 and 16,
Yes.
on the list we've got to have another long, drawn-out process here.
Yes.
So now we've got 10 weeks.
10 weeks.
10 weeks. You give them the tagline.
10 steps to booking an NWO-Style takeover of NXT.
And this is number 10. Cesaro petitions William Regal for an NXT job and a match against Finn Balor. During an episode...
Storyline.
Ooh,
I mean, a little story here.
Story! During an episode of NXT, we're taken backstage to Commissioner Regal's office, where Cesaro walks in with a grim look on his face. Regal immediately asks him how Tyson Kidd is doing, without broke neck, and says that he's sorry that Cesaro's had yet another unlucky break. Cesaro then explodes and lays out just how angry he is on the main roster. And how he really wants to come to NXT to wrestle his style, his way, and to have matches that he'll enjoy. Regal takes Cesaro's case under advisement, and a week later Cesaro is reassigned to NXT. He then demands a non-title match against Finn Balor, just so he can see where he stands. Regal books the match where Cesaro loses cleanly in the middle of the ring after a competitive 20-minute matchup. The show ends with Cesaro sitting in the ring looking incredibly dejected. Dun, dun, dun. So we will see what the next step is next week when it comes to number 9 in these 10 steps to book an NWO-Style takeover of NXT. Step number 1, Cesaro has wedged his way in there. What happens next?
Yeah,
why does he need to be in NXT? Why would you want to go back down to NXT?
You go and you lose cleanly.
And you lose cleanly already. So, we will find out next week what step number 2 is in this 10-step process. Very interesting. You definitely don't want to miss that.
No.
Already sounds very
It's
interesting.
story time here.
It's story time with the top of reality.
Yes.
Story time with Mike and Justin.
Have a book to open up.
We should have a book to open up. We should, yes. Gather round, gather round.
Yes. We'll work on this by the time we get to 1. So
Yes,
this will be perfect by the time we get to 1.
Now we're going to go with our every now and then.
Yes, it's been a while.
It's been a little while, so we bring it up every now and then. We have our own little thing where we have a Hall of Fame, should be, might be, and not gonna help out.
Of course, and our little should be, might be, not at all. Coco Beware would have been in the not at all, and we got wrong about that.
We did get wrong about that, very much so. It still should have never happened, but whatever. Exactly, that hurt, didn't it? WWE smacked you in the face with Coco Beware and that bird.
So either we say not at all, they can be put in next year. So
that could be, but this is our opinion. We'll start with the might be.
It might be.
The might be.
And,
her father-in-law is already in the Hall of Fame.
Yes. And her husband doesn't want to go in. So he's dead.
He doesn't want to be there to accept the award.
And what she's done for the business, being her name would garner a spot.
Yes, she was the CEO
what
of the
she's
company.
done for the company, storyline-wise,
Yes.
in front and behind the camera,
yes.
garners her a spot.
Garners her spot very much.
But does she want to be in the Hall of Fame?
She may not want to be in the Hall of
She may
Fame.
not want to be in the Hall of Fame.
I mean, think about it. They medically induced her into a coma for a storyline.
Yes.
And then she got up at WrestleMania and kicked her own husband in the gonads.
In the big grapefruits.
In the big old grapefruits, in the cojones, in the gonads, if you will. Ladies and gentlemen, we're talking about might be Linda McMahon. Might be.
She could take a spot.
She could take a spot with the other women among the WWE. I mean, she's very influential. She's been there since day one of working with her husband, of building this company up. So, I mean, she's a huge influence in the business. And then, the not at all. This person, but I have much respect for this person. I think that they very much so know how to reinvent themselves.
Oh, yes.
They can definitely reinvent themselves. They had many different gimmicks, and all of them, in my opinion, did get over.
They did.
They did get over.
But when you burn bridges...
Especially now that this person's passed away, we will say that.
Yes.
And it's not. I don't know that this person burned the bridge.
No,
but their family member definitely burned the bridge, and that may cause for this person not to go in. So we're going to say not at all for Viscera. That is Mabel, King Mabel, Viscera, Big Daddy V, etc., etc.
Yes. So we don't see
Nelson Frazier Jr.
Yeah, we do not see him going in.
We don't, especially now. I mean, his, it depends on. I guess if the WWE says, you know what, let bygones be bygones. We want to put him in, and more than likely his wife will be like, hey, I need the money anyway.
That's true.
It probably won't. She may not go as far as Owen's wife. But she already has kind of put a black eye on his career by trying to sue WWE. He wasn't in the WWE when he passed away, but they always got to blame WWE. You know, that's neither here nor there, whatever.
It's the biggest horse in the fight, and it's got the most money, so who do you go after?
If WCW was still around, they'd probably be blaming Ted Turner. Just saying. Because he got more money. And there should be. And there will be.
And I think next year, yes.
Could
be the headliner.
Be very appropriate to be the headliner, ladies and gentlemen. We're talking about the icon. We're talking about the franchise player. We're talking about the legend that is the man they call Sting.
Yes, there's no ifs, ands, and buts.
No ifs, ands, or buts about it. That's the last straw
that
from WCW. That's the last man they wanted to get over, and they got him in the WWE, and they put him over huge. Yes, he lost, but he still got over. The fans still love him.
Oh, yeah.
He had some good matches, a couple of the good matches. Even his last match that he had, even though he got hurt.
And which may be his last
He still finished the match. He was still professional about it, and it was still a good match.
Yeah, it was.
So, it's definitely...
The next time we see Sting, maybe in the Hall of Fame, that's it.
That may be it. And then he'll just be a Legends contract and ambassador for the company, which is fine and dandy. That's someone, like we've said before, you don't have to worry about having controversial videotapes, controversial words being said about people. You don't have to worry about babysitting him to make sure that he doesn't screw up and talk bad about any one person or any ethnic group.
But
so
just put this in your head. If he wasn't hurt, if he was able to go, thinking about this at Survivor Series. Taker, Kane, Sting versus the Wyatt family.
Exactly. I've read that's what they talked about.
That would be a great match.
It would be. I've
you
heard
put Bray's in the tournament. You have that as a six-man.
Yep. I've heard they've talked about that. I don't think it's going to happen, but I've heard.
I mean, unless he's got better and they're good to go. But other than that,
that's the only good thing about right now. Like with the Daniel Bryan thing, like with the Sting thing,
they
can keep that stuff under wraps where people cannot find out
if
they're okay or not, if they're better or not, and they could be surprise situations, both of them. So you never do know.
You don't.
You never do know. But ladies and gentlemen, that is it for part 4. Next week we rebook Continental Wrestling Federation. We're going to rebook one of their events.
Like a house show, like we do with USWA.
Yes.
I don't think they had any. I mean, they had some big events in Birmingham, but it's like a house show. So
there you go. Also, we will talk about it, and it will be how can we make the WWE better? What thing do we think individually or collectively do we think will help the WWE? We'll bring our opinions to you, and we'll talk about that. So we will see what comes of that. Plus, in part, that's going to be in part 3, yes. Okay.
Yes, part
and then
3,
10 steps to booking the NWO-Style Takeover of NXT. Number 9. So you definitely don't want to miss that. It's going to be very interesting.
The story continues.
The story, it does continue. I like that. We should find more of these because I like that. I like that a lot. Pay-per-view review of Survivor Series 2006, 2007, 2008, 2009, 2010.
Another fiver for you, folks.
Plus, of course, ringside news, along with, put WrestleCade in there, Ring of Honor, etc., etc. And, of course, has so much more, because you never know what will happen.
Plus, we'll know what's happening. I mean, we may know who's in the tournament now.
We may know now.
They may start the tournament on Raw. We'll know that. So, after this Raw, that will help so much on the rest of it.
Yes. Yes, that's definitely going to be a big difference next week.
Oh, yeah.
We will definitely
we'll have some answers to a lot of questions.
A lot of questions that we talked about this week. We don't know who's in the tournament, so we don't know who the dark... We have an opinion of who could be a dark horse, but we don't know who's in the tournament yet. Nope. So maybe we get a bracket this week on Raw and find out who it is. And
I've seen one bracket, but,
that bracket was very one-sided.
It was one-sided.
Very one-sided.
That may be one of the main pictures for this. So.
That would be awesome.
It would be. So I want to thank everybody for watching this week of episode 81. One step closer to 100, and we're going to keep doing it step by step until we get it right. Day by day. I'm Mike Hogan.
And I'm Jessica.
Thanks for watching again. We'll see you next week.